out in a certain way in terms of what exactly that they could engage with the craft, or they engaged with the craft invariably only through the lens of language, with dated English theater plays, which also gave it a certain elitist mindset that theater is only for a certain set of people, and any kind of appreciation for art forms beyond, like Indian and all, it became more a certain exotic sort of appreciation course rather than bottling that process, talking about the relevance of that content and making sure you implement it into the classroom. I think there was no, yeah.
So then tell me, Dushyant, if it is, if what you are saying, if I understand correctly, if not Shakespeare and Oscar Wilde, if that is something that does not resonate with young children and how they relate to life, what exactly do you bring into your curriculum? What is the content for young learners?
My biggest learning from taking theater into classrooms is that sometimes the best, not sometimes, all the time, the best stories come from the students themselves. Ultimately, if we were to flip it in the sense that if our objective, as I mentioned earlier, is to find the voice of every single child, then we need to start by listening to their stories first. And they have great stories to say. And there is no space in the education system for free expression. I think that's the ultimate problem. And when they express, they will learn. They will definitely get on to, learning from each other, learning that they might be having an opinion that might be not in the best interest of the society at large. So there is the unlearning also of how to go
isn't
about
that, is it that, so what you're talking about is extremely unscripted, isn't it? We say that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So we walk. Are you recommending that we walk into class and we do not plan the content at all, and we kind of organically develop it from the children? Is that what you're suggesting?
The opposite, because theater is a process and it's a very structured process. There's an assumption that there is no grammar to it. And that assumption is what we at Kriya try to break. There is a lot of planning to it. We have planned lesson plans down to minutes and then provided it to teachers who have no background in theater at all. But once they see that lesson plan and how to devise content, my content head is here, Yugesh, and Nimi, both of them are here. They will take you through an activity that will explain further. But broadly, we break down that lesson plan into 5 C's, which can I dive into now? Is that something?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so,
please go ahead.
So
I'm very interested to know
we
about
make sure,
that.
We make sure that we structure the lesson plans, even something as unscripted or devised. I'd like the word devised rather than unscripted. That process, capturing that process in writing so that there is a great amount of planning that goes into the classroom is very critical. At the same time, we can't be spending too much time just only planning and not executing as well. So that balance is very critical, and we've brought down it to 5 C's for a typical 40-minute to 1 hour session. Firstly, the first C is concept. What concept are we going to be discussing in the class? Generally, you can broadly divide it into 2. Any kind of topic that your subjects are talking about, sometimes in history, or somebody is talking about something in civic duty. It can even be mathematics and physics, because I've taught physics through lighting, stage lighting. You have reflection and refraction. So it could be a topical concept, or it could be something that's a skill-based concept, which is, any one of those skills that I mentioned in CLAP. You want something in terms of reading improved. You want body language improved. You want gestures improved, intonation improved. So broadly, our concepts could be skill-based or topic-based. Dependent on what topic you choose, you can go into the second C, which is context. Theater as a process, always make sure that you explain why you're learning something. If you tell students why they're learning something, they'll be far more receptive in terms of how. In theater, we have the advantage of literally performing it, or perhaps getting an activity that would involve them in explaining the why that much more effectively, so they have a buy-in. Typically, the concept and context won't take more than 5 to 10 minutes inside a classroom, in a typical classroom. Of course, these 5 C's are used in various.
So I have to ask you again, because this is making me rather uncomfortable. Because when I walk into a classroom, I walk into it with a script in hand, or no?
can I share something for you that will give you a little more?
Absolutely, please do. So,
Sure.
are you able to share? Just check, otherwise I'll
Just
give you the. Yeah, I think you are the co-host, so you'll be able to share. Your teammates are Yugesh RV?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just make him co-host as well, so he can share when he wants to. Okay. Are you able to share?
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
Just opening out the tab.
And the other person is Nimi Babu?
Nimi, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
It's a quite extensive, as you can see, it's not unscripted. This is a typical workshop session where you create. We do broadly, the concept, what do we discuss about? This is a more tuned towards language in this particular session. But of course, there are, those fixed towards problem solving, those fixed towards teamwork, those fixed towards core performance skills, as I mentioned. So you have a concept understanding of the topics where we break down the discussions. And then the contextual anecdote, facilitator performance of the relevant piece to the students. So we can just go to that piece. Ramani was auditioning for a play. And so we have the script provided over here. So that element kind of captures. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I'll be happy to share it with all of you at the end of it, so you get a flow and an understanding of what exactly is discussed. And from there, we go to the core of the classroom, which is the content which we deliver. We look at content either as a set of activities and games that we have a repository of, or a performance that they have devised within the classroom. So typically playtime content and showtime content is what we have. And each and every step of that playtime or that game is also mentioned for the teacher, as well as any scripts that they may be performing for that showtime element also is provided. So that even something in Joyita ma'am's word, which is unscripted, there is a structure. Just because it's unscripted, I think the biggest point that we have to all take off is, hey, it's a creative space. They just, do stuff, they just talk stuff and all that is something that's a misnomer. Ultimately, creativity involves a lot of rigor, a lot of structure, and it is working within that structure and rigor that we're able to come up with something creative that has an impact on its audiences, both in terms of those who are performing and those who are receiving said performance. So from content, we move into a concluding discussion so that we make sure that we reiterate what has been learned in the classroom. And that covers the 4 C's. The 5th C is a very interesting one, because we now have an app to test whether they have learned everything asynchronously. We give them the ability to go back home and perform on the app a small 2-minute video, which is connected to the lesson. And the trainer will be able to give feedback in terms of how their performance went. So that has the ability to make sure whether the learning can be not just reinforced, but also evaluated and assessed based on a rubric that we've created. So this is typically how a classroom or a workshop session takes place. We have a set of activities that we keep creating, our content team keeps creating. And there is also a set of scripts, as I mentioned, about 1,500 scripts, which we take extracts of to augment any particular topic or skill set. So that's how it's like building a lesson plan. Building a lesson plan is like building a Lego set. We don't know what we might know in our mind what we're going to build, but that doesn't mean that, halfway there, that nothing is ready. But it should be very clear what we want to build, and only then will the lesson plan make sense. So unscripted, yes, no doubt, but there are several tools, activities, and processes and prompts and resources that augment the rigor of creativity, is how I'd like to talk about.
So what you just showed me, it appears to me that this is pretty much structured. But would a teacher who's not trained in the theater arts be able to pull this off? Because I am, again, going back to NEP and what it says, it places a lot of importance on the local language. And you just told us that Shakespeare and Oscar Wilde is not something that our young people would vibe with, right? It's not that, no, it's, I mean, its time, place, context is very different from what their lives are like. Again, I would ask that for a person sitting in Tamil Nadu or in Assam or in Rajasthan, we all have different languages, right? So if English language theater is not something we fall back on, which is what we have been doing so far, I mean, how does this translate to the local language? Do you recommend that we do that at all? That's so the first question is about the language. And the second question is, how do you scale this up? Because this appears to me to be awfully difficult. I wouldn't be able to do this. So does that mean that I would have to go back to Dushyant every time, or is there a system of scaling this up?
Ideally, no. The second to answer immediately, no, you don't have to keep coming back. Otherwise, I'd be inundated with calls with my 40 odd trainers, Nimi and Yogesh included, every single day before they go into the classroom. We've figured that out. I still have hair on my head. So that's proof enough that, they don't keep calling me, so that aside, I think to answer your first question, the only language I feel theater is propagating is the language of expression. And expression need not necessarily be bound by English, Tamil, or whatever it is. And I think the second language that theater is bound by is the language of relevance. To give you a small example, I'm not against Shakespeare, I'm not against Oscar Wilde, I'm not against any of these classic plays. That's not my issue. My issue is how are we making it relevant, responsible, and refreshing for the students for implementation inside the classroom. One example I can give you is when the floods hit in Chennai in 2015, and there was a need for understanding our ecosystem and the impact of the floods. The first play we turned to was Shakespeare's Tempest, except that we set it in Chennai flood context, and then went about doing that play because it talks about so many things. There is a relevant piece. It is very much a relevant piece to discuss at what point in time. So the quotient of relevance is what we need to answer, and how expressive can it be, both for the performer, which in this case is a student, and for the receiver of such performance, which is the audience inside the classroom, parents, other stakeholders in the education setup. So I think that's very, very critical. And of course, that is what we've been trying to improve upon, that facilitation from content to form, and that structure is what we've improved.
So again, I understand what you are saying, that form is more important. Content is just the vehicle of, demonstrating that form. I would invite you, Dushyant, to please take us through the activity that you have spoken about. Sure. I'm very excited to participate in that if possible. So Dushyant will take us through an activity for the participants here. And he has scared me with a lot of open-ended endings. He's threatened that it can go anywhere. So to you.
So this is thank you, Joyita. So I thought it might be fun. I mean, of course, Joyita ma'am has the amazing ability to keep an audience, going in a great way. I think she's truly a gift for us in terms of a host. But to give her a break, we just thought we'd come up with something a little more experiential and give you a little taste of what it's like inside a theater classroom. And this is one of my pet peeves. It's an activity that I enjoy doing inside my classroom when I go in and facilitate sessions. It's called a forum theater project. I will now hand it over to Yogesh and Nimi. Yogesh, I'm giving you for the want of time, I'm giving you about 3 minutes for your prompt, and Nimi about 3 to 3.5 minutes for your prompt as well. But this won't work without you, the audience. So I do need audience participation for this. Very quickly, Yugi, I'll take them through the introduction and then you can jump into the prompt. Forum Theater was founded by Augustus Ball, a Brazilian theater practitioner, and it was more for propagation and activism, which is what it was used for. We look at it as a tool for problem solving. So we have kind of usurped the idea of forum theater and applied it into the classroom, Indian classroom typically, as a way to make sure that children are able to solve problems on the spot. Typically, we give them a 1-minute script, and then we make them perform it. We choose students and have them perform it. Only thing is, there is a beginning to the story of the script. There's a middle where we introduce a problem or a conflict, and then we leave the ending open-ended. The students, as they're reading it, have to come up with possible solutions for that problem that has been introduced in the story. But here's a kick of forum theater. If there are 4 or 5 people performing that particular script and they give a possible ending, it doesn't end there. As we know, to any possible problem, there are several solutions. And to make it a democratic way of arriving at the best solution, we freeze the first performance, and the moderator will choose another set of actors from the audience and come in and replace the actors who provided the first solution. And they will give an alternative ending
Vishal,
to the
quick question.
Yeah.
I can't stop myself. A quick question.
Yeah,
I mean, are you saying that if a particular audience is going to say, suppose this is being staged, and if I were going on Thursday, then the theater that I would see is different from what my friend would see on Saturday? Are you saying that?
This is not even a play that is going to be staged in person, although that what you're talking about has happened. We did this play several times. We did it on skin color discrimination, and the kind of impact, we did it once in the beach on Thursday, and then another place on Friday, and it had completely different results, in terms of how it was appreciated, how it was consumed by the audiences in different places, and how they reacted to it. Okay. And as you may understand, this is not just in terms of us as actors and their reaction to us. They do come on stage themselves, the audiences. And it works brilliantly in a classroom where typically, we sometimes have a tendency and bias as teachers to restrict it only to certain students who are eloquent in the classroom and listen only to a few students, maybe just 10 to 15 students out of 40. But this gives an experience for everybody to come on and be part of the creation process.
So this is experiential at a whole different level. The actors and audience are basically fluid.
It has always been the case in theater. Audiences are active participants, unlike film. And that's one of the major differences why we believe theater is more a tool and a greatly scalable tool inside the classroom as compared to other audiovisual elements. So I'm going to hand it over to Yogi for the first script. So as I mentioned, we will call out a script, and I'd like a show of hands for those who would like to be the first set of actors for our first script. It will introduce a problem, and you will enact it in the classroom right now. Okay, so do feel free to put your hands up. So here are the rules. Yugi, over to you.
Yes. So as Dushyant mentioned, there will be a script that will be read out, and there will be 3 characters in it. 2 main characters and 1 neutral character. The 2 main characters will be facing some sort of a conflict that has to be resolved by the end, which is not decided, correct? That ending has to be provided by the actors who are playing the roles of the 2 main characters and the neutral character who will try and steer the conversation, steer the scene towards an ending, a resolution towards the conflict. So that happens once, and as Dushyant mentioned earlier, the scene repeats with a different student as the neutral character, and then they try out their own version if they at all do have an alternate solution for that conflict. Yes. So shall I dive in with the first script?
So we need 3 volunteers, 2 main characters and 1 neutral character. The 2 main characters will remain through all the this one, and the neutral character will keep changing. Any volunteers? 3 volunteers?
Please raise your hands.
Please raise your hand. Please participate in this activity. I see Dolly Chaudhary here. I think I know her. Dolly, would you want to participate in this? I know she's a natural at this. Please don't be scared.
These are very simple, very simple prompts.
Yep. So I think people are very scared of doing this.
No problem. Let's see if I can just choose some people who I already, let's put a few under the spotlight. Yuki, you can take 1 character yourself.
Sure.
Jaita ma'am, I have to request you to take 1 character. Okay. And let and Nimi can just be 1 other character. All right. So
sure.
There you go. Let's just start with the 3 of you.
Okay, I just read out the first part so that there's a context to the scene. Shubha or Shekhar, Renu and Ronald, and their teacher discuss their aspirations in life when one of them puts down the other student's capabilities. So let me play Shekhar. Nimmi, you can be Renu. And Joyita ma'am, would you like to be the teacher?
Sure.
Okay.
So how do we go about this?
First, it'll just be a reading. Based on your understanding, we'll continue.
Okay. So should I start?
Yes, please.
Good morning, class. Let's begin today's session by sharing our dreams.
I would like to become a professor.
I would like to become an astronaut, ma'am.
One day of training for space, and I'm sure you'll be packing your bags.
I know it's not simple. From medical science to public speaking to managing a space station, you have to learn it all. And that's what I'll do.
It's not a cakewalk. You really think you, of all people, can manage all of that?
Why not? What's wrong with dreaming big?
You can dream big, but the failure will be equally large. Can you handle it?
I would like to tell the entire class, you can do whatever you dream of. There's nothing stopping you. You only have to decide to work hard. Why are you saying this, Shekhar? Don't you think at the end of hard work, everything is possible?
Yes, ma'am, I agree with that. But the bigger you dream, the bigger the chances of failure also, no, ma'am?
Renu, don't you think you should tell Yogesh that even though you may be scared of what is about to come up, I'm sure with time he will say something entirely different when you trailblaze into space.
Ma'am, he's been saying the same thing for a year now.
Okay, we'll stop on that note, and hopefully he stops saying it after this little exercise. Yogesh, now most of the second part of that entire performance was unscripted, but thanks to this structure that we gave and introducing the conflict, you saw that the teacher intervened in this particular setup, and Joyita ma'am came up with a lovely resolution in terms of explaining to Shekhar where exactly the character was going wrong and arriving at the right solution. And now there's a certain power to seeing characters affirm positivity inside a script. We don't see it often enough, not in our content, not in our academics, not anywhere. So this kind of a power will have a lasting impact on a child. This is obviously something which is typical for class 4, class 5 is where we use it. And invariably how we do it is right after one ending, we then ask for a neutral character to come and replace and provide another solution. So I'm going to give one more chance to the audience to come in and provide one more solution if there was a likelihood of it as a teacher. Anybody? I think you can take off the energy of Joyita ma'am's performance and how she gave such an eloquent ending to the whole thing and simple and had an impact. Anyone else has any alternate endings?
Now, the thing about forum theater is that it doesn't have to be pure performance. You don't have to come and perform it. You can also suggest an ending.
Yeah.
You can put it in the chat window. You can, yes, somebody's saying they can try. Since I'm sharing screen, I can't see. Who is it?
This is Reva. Can I try?
Yes,
please. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Pallavi ma'am has also raised her hand. So
great.
We'll go with Reva ma'am and then we'll go to Pallavi.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So Pallavi, Reva ma'am, you are now the teacher and you have to start with, I would like to tell the entire class.
So I would like to tell the entire class, what we dream, we have to have a purpose and our dreams should be big. Reach for the stars. If you fail, please you'll reach for the moon. Okay. And also the learning, whether I fail or not, the learning as I grow, who knows where it'll take you. And Renu, don't ever give up your dreams, no matter what anyone says to you. Okay. And you know what? That's the hardest part. Believe in yourself, because there'll be lots of people to tell you can't do it. You need to prove that you can. So go for it.
Thank you so much, Reva. A big applause to her. And Pallavi ma'am, over to you. I would like to tell the entire class.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I would like to tell the entire class maybe on the similar lines, what Revaji mentioned, do not hesitate to dreams. Dream whatever comes to your mind naturally. And I'll also try to connect it on the psychological aspects, that we dream of things, of those things which are in our conscious and subconscious mind. Sometimes we do not even have control over our dreams. So we did not feel shy about our dreams, because that's something happening to us out of our experiences, and sometimes out of the experiences of the people we live with. So it's not that somebody who is dreaming of big or something which is beyond their capacity should feel shy about anything. Just dream, and then according to your dreams, try to analyze whatever you have dreamt, whether the things are in the limits of your capacities and capabilities, and accordingly plan your dreams and chase your dreams, and one day you'll surely be successful. So just do not stop to be a dreamer.
Wonderful. That's
Wonderful.
amazing. Two more hands raised. Anyone wants to step in?
Myself. I want to
Vinita
try.
ma'am. Was that Vinita ma'am and Mitra ma'am? Mitra ma'am, you can go ahead. So
Yeah.
I would like to tell,
Okay. So class, you know why I asked you to share your dreams? It's because the topic for today's physics class is a diode. And what does a diode do? A diode rectifies an alternating signal. What is an alternating signal? Well, there is a crest and there is a trough. So yes, Shekhar, yes, you are right that a big dream will be followed by a big failure. But what you forgot is a big failure will again be followed by a bigger dream. Because after every trough comes a crest. And in case you do not want those failures, now, Renu, this is for you. In case you do not want those failures, all that you will require is to look for two diodes. And that will rectify the alternating signal, and all that you will have is one crest following another. That's how life is. Take it and just look for the diodes. Thank you.
my wildest dreams, I don't think I would have associated it with that. But that's the beauty of this entire exercise. Each one has one way of associating with the same script. And Vinita ma'am, over to you. Wonderful, ma'am. Mitra ma'am, thank you so much. Vinita ma'am, I would like to tell
Thank you so much. I would like to tell the entire class the lines written by Rudyard Kipling. If you can dream, but not make dreams your master. So when I asked you about your dreams, I also wanted to know how enthusiastic you are towards fulfilling your dreams. And I'm really glad to know that Renu has that zeal. And at the same time, from whatever Shekhar has advised her or the points that he has kept, Renu need to keep those also in mind, because when you dream, it is very easy to dream. You know, it is a natural thing which comes to all humans very easily, but it is very difficult to accomplish your dreams or fulfill your dreams. So with dreaming, you need to plan your things also. You need to know your caliber also, and you need to know the hard work that you need to put in to fulfill your dreams. Thank you.
Fantastic. I think we'll stop there. It's been a lovely forum with so many different ideas. And so
Dushan,
just want
give me,
yeah.
Dushan, just give me one more chance, and I would like Nimi to react differently this time. Nimi, can you do that? Yeah. Okay. I would like to tell the entire class that women should not dream so much. What is the use of dreaming so much and to find out when you are 30 that you had kids, and all that you can do, no matter what people tell you, is, you know, spend all your time in the kitchen and bring them up, and that's what ultimately happens to you. Let's not talk about society or family. Renu, it's time that you understood realities and dreamt a dream that you can achieve. Instead of thinking of stupid things which you will never be able to do, reach for a dream which is possible. क्या तुम लोग के बच्चे, तो आजकल के बच्चे तुम लोग भी, Renu, really grow up. You are in class 10 now. Hello, Siti.
Sorry?
Renu, please, over to you.
Nimi, what's your reaction as Renu?
Nimi is frozen.
Oh boy.
I think I've managed to.
I think that's a
freeze
literal
her.
and figurative.
I think what you said, Joyita, was very scary for Nimi.
Yeah. But you know what?
Did you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear?
Yeah, I think it's breaking a little, Nimi.
Yes.
Okay, Nimi,
Okay.
did you hear me?
Yeah. I think everybody heard you loud and clear.
No, I think Nimi couldn't because Nimi's net is going. Now she's
Okay, a
just
little
exited.
haywire. Is she fine?
No, I don't think she's there in the meeting anymore. Is she?
Yes,
Oh, I
Yes,
see.
she's there. Yes. Nimi, can you respond to what I said?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I ran away because I couldn't handle what you just said. One of the interviews of an astronaut I listened to while researching about this, and when the interviewer asked her why she wants to explore the space, she was an Indian too. She said because it's there. And because it's there, I also want to explore, ma'am. It's as simple as that. But why are you taking Yogesh's side, ma'am?
Shaker.
And Shaker said, that was me.
Great. But Joyita ma'am brought up a very important point in terms of how, as different individuals, we look at solutions in different manners. We believe that this might be a way, of course, I know Joyita ma'am is a fierce feminist and she would never think like this, and she was only play acting. But ultimately, you will face these issues. But ultimately, a theater-based activity allows for a safe space and a decorum to discuss different points of view, however ugly it may be, and not pocket us into a left or right, black and white, and try and unravel and unlayer all our prejudices and everything else in a seamless, safe manner. And it's a very important point. And the great thing is it's not just a philosophical tool. It's not a tool just for philosophy or exchanging of ideas. Even core topics, like how Mitra ma'am said, can be discussed through something like this that will make that experience of learning that much more interesting. They will never forget diode and, sorry, Mitra ma'am, what was that other
a double
best
diode.
intro.
A double diode. Okay. I don't think they will ever forget that topic if it is discussed in that manner. Connecting back to Joyita ma'am's first question in terms of academics versus theater, it is not a versus. It has never been a versus. Because ultimately, I'd like to end the activity by saying this: the greatest space for performance has always been the relationship between a teacher and a student, and always been the classroom. It has been the greatest space for performance for eons. It is that exchange that we are trying to pocket and productize and provide with resources available in a very busy day for teachers as well as students. That's what we are trying to achieve by saying that process is something that you can lean on. The theatrical process is something that you can always lean on to make sure that the information passes on in a seamless manner for a more holistic experience for everyone. So over to you, Joyita. So thank you, Nimi, Yugi, and all the participants.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've come to the end of our talk. I can only thank you deeply, Dushyant, for taking us through such an interesting activity, such an interesting exercise. We all have been associated with theater in some form or the other, either as audience or actors. I would just like to ask you one last question, that there are many children in our class who are not natural actors, or who, like our audience today, feel intimidated by the prospect of performing, by acting, because that's the kind of idea that they've grown up with from childhood, that theater means acting, and acting means being vulnerable at a very deep level. Not all our children may be comfortable in doing that. What would you say to that for us teachers to encourage everybody to participate and reap the benefits of theater? How can we do this? That's one. And the other part is theater also has so many beautiful other parts. There's costume, there's makeup, there's building a set, light, sound, so many different things, props, huge number of things are required for a successful theater production. So Is
think
there
question
space
one-
for that in your curriculum?
I think question one answers question two. If there's somebody who is genuinely not interested in the acting facet of theater, there are so many other aspects that they can take over. They can be production managers, they can be musicians, they can be dancers, they can be chorus members, they can be prop makers, they can be costumers, they can be lighting designers, they can be sound technicians. And it sort of mirrors a corporate system or any other team system where we need all the cogs in the wheel to sort of work with each other. If not, the product is not going to come out all that well. And there are no retakes, right? You can't go back and do it again. You fail, you fail. That's it. So the number of constraints, number of things stacked against you for putting up a good play, especially in an environment which is very fast-paced and not much patience. We don't have as a race, we've lost our ability to have patience, to let someone arrive at some point in time. So, so I think that so many things stacked against you. The process of theater making is not restricted only to acting. Of course, it is a predominant and most tangible of the entire process. Designing and direction by itself lends itself to design thinking, which by itself is a course today. So the kind of design thinking elements that we went through in our own course has its space in design and directing in a play, in terms of how you create a prototype is very similar. So there is a lot of leadership, a lot of thought, a lot of processes that you kind of imbibe. And even if they are not perfect actors, that's not our motivation. We don't want to make actors out of them. We want them to be only, stewards of society, good stewards of society. And even if point A to point B for a particular student can be different, starting point A can be different for student X and starting point A can be different for student Y. Our ability to think that everybody's at 0 and all of them have to be at 100 has to be recalibrated. And theater as a process allows for that recalibration to happen in a very seamless manner. So that recalibration in terms of, hey, this child, this is what allows theater also as a great tool for special education. Children with autistic, on the autistic spectrum, still children who have, neurodiverse, across the spectrum on the neurodiverse spectrum, all of them take to theater almost, in the most inclusive manner possible. So, and we have had the great privilege of interacting with them and they interacting with us in a manner that others would never get to interact with, because they too, believe it or not, have great stories to tell and great stories to create. Ultimately, as social creatures, we all want our stories heard. How, when, where, and why, the process will get you there. So give space for the process, the product will automatically take care of itself. I'll equate it with academic, this one, practice as much as you can, exam will take care of itself, so it's the same thing. I think it's just that we are so in the rush to get that product right, we forget to appreciate and understand where we are in the process.
Absolutely. So process over product, I don't think there can be a more apt and happier completion to this very first LuminatEd talk. I hope this conversation with Dushyant has illuminated your minds. I always like to end with a call to action. So Dushyant, if I was audience of this particular talk and I was convinced enough that I should be doing this at whichever education institution I'm associated with, where's the place to start? Right after the talk, exactly what do I do?
That time you can call me. So
Dushyant has shared his email ID. What is this? Is this your email ID?
That's
yes.
My email.
Okay. And Dushyant, I would request you to also share your website address. So thank you everybody for being
Rita, can I just come in?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Before you wrap it, I know we are already 10 minutes beyond our time, but still, given the content, the engaging content that we had, if there is any audience question, we could have
absolutely
one or two before we wind up.
Absolutely, yes. So those of you who are here, if you have a question to ask our resource person,
Yeah.
Please do raise your hand.
Could I? Yeah.
Yes, Reba, go ahead.
So, Dushyant, the question, what we didn't cover, a difficult topic, say child abuse, or the, parts which are okay to be touched, okay to be not touched for a little child, say of 3 or 4. Have you had experiences making plays for them in
Yes,
school?
we have. Teachers generally have, it's a great question, by the way, but teachers and generally all stakeholders, school management have had great difficulty creating content in a sensitive, safe, and extremely interactive manner without eliciting discomfort amongst teachers. So invariably, they fall on us to come in and talk about it. We worked with about 50 schools last year and the year before in terms of creating a 20-minute piece along with a worksheet and sort of illustrated details that follows with the performance. And we do that 20-minute performance, and then they have the worksheet and discussions follow afterward, making it seamless, making it something that that can be open. It's a very safe space.
Because it's a difficult topic, and with POSCO rules, this is a reality in our schools. And if you have a co-ed school, again, to teach them the right way, I mean, so thank you. Just wanted to know that how your experience was. Thank you so much.
Generally, substance abuse for early adolescents, child abuse for early childhood students, excess screen time, cyberbullying for middle school. Typically, these are all things that are very sensitive in nature. We do also tie up when we create the content with experts on these topics, create it and then get it vetted, and only then kind of bring it into the classroom. So it's a very extensive process, but very enjoyable and high impact. So that's something that we are very, very excited about, and also we know that we have kind of we sleep in peace when we do those kind of sessions inside class.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Chandrani, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Thank you so much. It was such a, it was an extraordinary show, and I really enjoyed. I have been doing DIE in my literacy classes, but I feel this can be, we also do a program in our schools called Need to Know for grade 4 and 5, where we try to teach them, about this, just now what other ma'am was talking about, good touch, bad touch, knowing your body, because that's the adolescent stage when new things are happening to children. So I feel this kind of, activity can be done to make it possible for a teacher to reach out to the children. I'm just asking because Need to Know our sessions, where I'm repeating once again, Need to Know our sessions, where we try to educate children on their, physical development. There are certain cycles which are beginning, which some children may know because times have changed. Some may not know. So to educate the whole class and to keep them at par so that it doesn't become a taboo, and then a kind of discussion, corridor discussion for them. So in our Need to Know sessions, we can take these forward, right?
Most definitely.
We can use this as a way to,
As I mentioned, our lesson plans can be triggered into any topic or skill. So if it is very topic heavy and something that is sensitive, it's just that a requisite amount of research needs to be done. We have to also understand that we are also living in an age of too much information. So it is possible that within the aspect of too much information, that there could be misinformation that is streaming in about certain things. And a great way to kind of mitigate that is in a live space or a live performance, where right after the performance, you could have a discussion and a debate in terms of what exactly the meaning of a particular topic is, or a particular idea is, and all the gray areas within that specific topic, because it is a deep topic. Most of these sensitive topics are very deep and very layered. And for that reason, that social interaction right after a piece or right after an activity also dispels any kind of misinformation that might be spreading. Definitely it would work in a great manner for all these aspects as well. Specifically, even the forum theater activity, if we gear it to something like this, would make it something very well. I would advise, if there are teachers who are trying to do a Need to Know in your classroom, to use the forum theater A one-page script is not something that would scare them to create. So and then from there, getting them to create the ending is a very simple activity that would get the discussion flow. We as Indians are born dramatic. I don't think there is a problem in terms of our dramatic ability. But when and where we get dramatic is the problem. So, and I think that structure is what we have to aspire. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We will end here. May you all live with theater, may you live with a dramatic life, but let drama not be there in your life. If I'm making any sense, a big thank you to Dushyant for taking the risk to be our very first resource person. We are big dreamers, all of us here. And I do believe our collective strength will take us forward in doing something real good for the education sector as a whole. I have to heartily thank my cohort, my EdLib cohort. All of you have become family. We have become family, and I hope this family does fantastic things together. For all of you who have taken the evening out to be with us, thank you so much for being in the very first session, very special session of LuminatEd-01. With that, signing off. Bye-bye. Have a great evening.
Before you leave the meeting, Dushyant, you wanted to share that file of yours. So there are two options. You could attach it as a file and just upload it here right away. Or the other is that you go to chat and then there's a file option. You can upload it there and all the participants can download it immediately. The second option is you send it to Joyita and all the participants have registered and it can be mailed.
You could email it. I think that would be better.
It can be mailed, yes, because everybody is registered.
I can give you a detailed email with a little more information that might be a little.
Please do that.
Otherwise, one lesson plan
all the participants here.
Post-reading session kind of, and allow the thoughts to stay on. So that will be good.
Perfect. I'll do that. I'll send a few presentations across.
Okay. So thank you.
And Yogesh and Nimi, thank you so much. I hope we meet in person someday and continue what we started here today. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so
much.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.